Welcome to part 4 of my Halen cosplay series. Sharp is the name of the sword that Halen wields in her left hand. He is the reason why Halen's left arm is red floating rock. In this video, I'll explain how I built Sharp. Using reference images and the 3D model, I was able to scale the sword shape to my size. I drew the sword on a large piece of cardboard and then cut out the shape. I then transferred the shape from cardboard onto 2 sheets of foam and used a bandsaw to cut the pieces out. Then, using my Dremel, I carved out a groove down the center of each piece. The grooves enabled me to place a dowel in between both foam pieces. Next, I sandwiched the foam around the dowel and glued them together using contact cement. I then started beveling the edges with my Dremel. Sharp is a stone sword, so I had to get the foam to look as though it was chiseled. I made sure to get a smooth curve on the grip of the gun. The sword could look more rough. The edges are sharper and the curves aren't as refined. I feel like I achieved the chiseled look I wanted. I've said this before, but make sure to lay down some paper when using a Dremel. There's a lot of dust that will be created and it gets everywhere. Now that the sword was complete, I moved on to the hand, more specifically, the fingers. Here you can see a few types of designs I made when figuring out how to do this. I ended up choosing this claw-like design. Once I chose my design, I had to repeat the same process 5 times, once for each finger. I'm very glad there was only one hand for Sharp, since each finger took quite some time. For each of my finger joints, I made cube shapes. They aren't totally accurate to the actual design of the fingers, but they were the best fitting for my fingers and also the easiest to build. Next, I moved on to the wrist. Again, using the 3D model as reference, I drew half the shape on cardboard. I then transferred the design to foam. I only drew half the shape to ensure that the piece was symmetrical. Again, using a bandsaw, I cut out the shape. I did the same for the forearm. For the elbow shape, I decided on a more round design to make it easier to put on and take off. The rectangular shapes connect together to create a rounded shape. The shoulder was more square and simply sits on top of my shoulder instead of wrapping all around it. This allowed me to have more mobility. Like the elbow, I decided to make the bicep round for simplicity and to easily put it on and take it off. With all the arm pieces built, I started attaching straps. These were elastic-like straps that held onto my forearm and prevented the piece from slipping. I created this shape for the handpiece so that my fingers could help keep the piece in position. The last step was simulating floating pieces of rock. I used my black morph suit to create that illusion. So that's how I built Sharp. I learned a lot about building full limb pieces. You have to keep mobility in mind while not sacrificing too much of the final look. This was also the first time I went so in depth with straps. This is something I will have to work on. But overall, I was very happy with how Sharp turned out. Thanks for watching.